Hello, Libra rising. This is Mandy Ray of Ecstatic Astrology here for your Venus retrograde forecast. It goes from July 22nd through September 3rd, but the Venus retrograde shadow is a little longer than that, June 18th through October 7th. And that's really the amount of time I'm going up through October 7th. So I will do a second video that will encompass October through December, because obviously this is the other videos have been tracking about 45, 50 minutes. So it's impossible to make a video that's digestible, that covers a lot amount of time. So I'm doing it in two pieces. Venus retrograde was an easy way to kind of section it off, because it encompasses July, August, September, and October, at least the very beginning of October. So what does it mean for you? Well, Venus is what we love and what we're drawn to. It is what we value. It's also relationships, it's money, it's a benefic, it's a good planet. And the retrograde indicates a reevaluation. Okay. So if Venus's values, retrograde might be a re-evaluation time. In Leo, which is how we shine, it's our heart, it's our creativity. This can almost be like a rebranding situation, or something, a period of time in which we look for exactly what it is we want, what we're drawn to creatively, or even romantically, because it's Leo. But where is it for Libra rising? So let's look at the graphic that I made. I'll go ahead and turn my video off for a second so you can see the whole thing. This is Venus retrograde in Leo. As you can see, we've got July 22nd through September 3rd. That was a bad drawing. I'm going to draw all over this. So get out your calendars, by the way, because I'm also going to throw dates out at you. If you've ever had a session with me or watched a video, you will see that I draw on the chart all the time. I love to do that. So July 22nd through September 3rd. And then the shadow, June 18th through October 7th. The shadow is when it reaches the first point that it's going to retrograde back to. That would be 12 degrees of Leo. That was June 18th. Goes forward to 28 degrees, turns around, goes back to 12, turns around, goes back to over the rest of Leo. And that's going to be October 7th when it leaves its shadow and passes that 28th degree of Leo. Also, there's a Venus star point, August 13th. That's going to be when the sun and Venus come together. It happens every retrograde. And it's looked at as a very fortunate time in which we're aware of whatever the Venus retrograde was about. It's also known as an audience with the king, or a Venus cazimi, Venus star point. The other years that happened, by the way, Venus retrograde in Leo's happened since not since it happened in 2015. Y'all, I've done 6 of these videos, so I'm trying my best to be smooth with my vocals. I'm so sorry. Venus retrograde in past years would be 2015, 2007, 1999, 91, and 1983. So you can go back and look at those periods of time, depending on how old you are, and see what was going on in your life. So let's talk about where it is for you. All right, we're going to circle this. The 11th house, large groups of people, networking, goals, future friend groups. Over here, you see 11th Venus retrograde is in your 11th house. Now, the other thing that's there, which I will put as a stamp, because you guys, I could not put Mercury, the Sun, and Mars on here. They move too fast. And generally Venus does too, but not retrograde. It's in Leo for this whole period of time. So these are pretty much the static planets. They're all going to be in these signs no matter what throughout the rest of the Venus retrograde. The Sun and Mars and Mercury are a different story. So we got Mars here in Virgo. We've got the Sun in Leo, and it's at the early degrees right now of Leo. And then we have Mercury in Leo. Also not going to be there for very long. So we'll put Mercury. Mercury is a question mark. The Sun's a yellow circle, and Mars is the orange X. So that's what that's going to represent as I go through all of this. So yes, lots of energy in your 11th house of large groups of people, networking, goals, future friend groups. I'll bring my video back up here. Okay. So Venus retrograde. It's a reevaluation of What do I want out of the people that I commune with, out of the network that I have? Does it need to change? Is this what I'm drawn to? Is this reflective of what my heart wants? Is this reflective of my inner child? So the other thing is the goals that you have for yourself could be affected by this and what you value, especially in terms of what your heart wants. Okay. Is going to come under scrutiny in a sort of way. It's more like a lot of focus gets put here, and we may redo something here. Okay. And even more so when we think about Uranus and Jupiter being in Taurus. Now, why does this matter? This is your eighth house, Taurus, eighth house, shared resources, boundaries, contracts, power, and deep desire. Some modern astrologers put sex here. I think sex is maybe more of the fifth house myself. I think maybe bondage would be the eighth house. Death and loss are also an eighth house topic, but I don't really focus on that too much because I don't feel like fear mongering is helpful. But if there is an ending, the eighth house can contribute to it. So you've got Jupiter and Uranus there. What are they doing? Jupiter is expansion, it's philosophy, and it is in your eighth house. So what you're expanding and trying to find meaning about is the shared resources that you have. So think your partner's money, think loans, grants, um, inheritance is another topic. So it expands all of this. It expands maybe the need to be cared for, or maybe people are expecting you to take care of them. This is why the eighth house, in my mind, I don't know that everyone ascribes boundaries to the eighth house, but I do. And power and disempowerment. When you're in a contract, which the eighth house rules with someone, and it's not fair, the interest rate's too high, that's disempowering. And so I think boundaries come into play a lot with the eighth house. Do you want to share resources with someone? Are they treating you right? Uranus as well. Uranus is change. Uranus is freedom, it's upheaval, it's revolution. So it's been in your eighth house since 2018. Okay. So there's been a lot of upheaval in that area. Maybe what you think you're worth has come up. Maybe people trying to put their thumb on you, disempower you, and you breaking free of that. Uranus. Okay. Now let's talk about the sign. The sign is Taurus. Taurus is a fixed earth sign. So a lot of times changing this area is not very easy, like, oh no, they're my best friend. I know they don't treat me right, but it's okay. Oh no, I mean, I know that I probably shouldn't have gotten that loan, but I've already done it. So whatever. I'll just sit here and pay off the high interest rate. That kind of a thing. That is a fixed way of being. You hold it. But it's Venus ruled. How weird, right? Jupiter and Uranus in the eighth house are in a Venus ruled house. So they're looking to Venus retrograde to tell them a little more about what's going on. And not only are they looking at Venus retrograde, but they're also going to square Venus retrograde, or Venus retrograde will square them, rather. Okay. So these two areas are in a negotiation. Squares are tension. Tension moves things. We need tension. You can't hook a rope to a large stone and pull it without tension, right? You can't, pulleys are a thing for a reason. There's tension on those lines, and you can't drag it up the hill without tension. So it changes things. And I think for the better, squares are necessary in life in order to change things. So no fear mongering from me, but the squares are going to lead to a negotiation of sorts, a movement. We need to do something about it. Venus retrograde goes through your 11th house and is like, I think I have these other goals for myself, or this is not who I am, where I'm heading, or these people are not actually making me feel good about myself. And you have to go check out Jupiter in your eighth house, which can kind of keep you fixed in this contract, in this relationship, paying for everyone, doing everything with everyone, but only what they want to do, right? Shared resources. Uranus comes in to change that up for sure. And the square is like, oh, but what if this changes? There is some fear maybe associated with it. Eighth house can bring up fear. and trauma. The eighth house is not easy. So Jupiter and Uranus there are really expanding that area, but also encouraging you to change and find what the truth is. What is the truth about who I hook myself with? Okay. That's the eighth house. So Venus square that is like, oh man, maybe it's exposing things that aren't working and requiring you to go back to your eighth house and see if it's crossed a boundary or if you're willing to give up this relationship. Do you empower yourself? Do you disempower? Do you stay disempowered? Those are the questions, okay? So let's look at these squares. The first square to Jupiter was June 11th. Now, if you'll notice, that's actually before the shadow. Here's the shadow, June 18th. June 11th was the first square. That means it was in early degrees of Leo to Taurus. So this is interesting to me, a square outside of the shadow of Venus retrograde. But this can lead to excess. Sometimes Venus square Jupiter is good. It's two benefics. They're both gift givers. There's their intention, but I mean, when you have two good guys in tension, it's maybe not always a bad thing, but it can lead to excess because Jupiter does rule excess. So I had to make a big sigh. I've been allergic today. You'll forgive me. My breathing's feeling off. But when I talk a lot, I do that. Okay. So Venus square Jupiter can expand these topics, maybe not feeling like you're being seen in the light you want to be seen in by your friend group or feeling like you've been disempowered in some way. June 11th. Now, sometimes people spend a lot of money or maybe spend a lot of money on someone else around times like this. Okay. So then there's a second square. That second square comes August 22nd. Okay. And that is kind of, that's a month from now. I'm recording this July 25th. So it's going to take a while for it to square again. But in the meantime, it'll be interacting with Uranus. But this second square is Venus has gone through some things, right? And this is a little bit of a change, but a revisitation. So check out what was going on June 11th. Friend groups and goals and networking in the future and my deep desires, my boundaries, my shared resources, my contracts, my power. Are they in sync? What needs to change to make them be able to handle each other, basically? So you're getting to the truth of the matter with a Venus square to Jupiter. And then also September 17th, that's the third one. And this time Venus will be direct and Jupiter will be retrograde, almost as if Jupiter's got to go kind of think of some stuff, after this Venus retrograde. Venus tugged on it enough for Jupiter to be like, okay, let me go reevaluate real quick. So September 17th is the last one. And those Venus squares to Jupiter, especially because Jupiter and Uranus are on your money axis, be careful with your pocketbook. Make sure you're being paid what you need to be paid, and make sure your goals are in alignment with what your eighth house wants and feels is necessary. And also your heart, okay? Leo, your inner child, is this what you want? Second thing is Venus square Uranus. Venus did that first July 2nd, okay? Uranus is change, upheaval, unexpected events, and there may have been an unexpected event in your eighth house or even in your 11th house, right? With money, with friends, with your goals. Maybe a goal was thwarted of some sort, but Venus squared Uranus the first time as it was direct July 2nd. Now it's going to have its second one really not too long from now, August 9th. Okay, this is Venus retrograde. So something is under review as Uranus throws you a curveball again from your eighth house. Maybe this is something you want, you haven't saved enough to get it. Maybe you can't get the loan. Maybe you want the loan and it comes through and now you got to actually pay it monthly. But really, I mean, let's think about the friend group thing too. Someone could say something that upsets you and you go, wait, it makes you reevaluate all of your goals. Someone could expect something of you that you're not comfortable giving. Okay. September 29th is the last one, and it's going to square Uranus a third time. Uranus will now be direct. Same thing. Uranus is changing the values again in the 8th house. So these squares are important, and it's important to know those dates, okay? And keep in mind the themes. 8th house, shared resources, boundaries, contracts, power, deep desires, versus, sometimes versus, large groups, the large groups of people you hang with, networking, goals, future, and friend groups. All right, now let's look at some other considerations. And these are linked to the eclipses, okay? First of all, the North Node is now in Aries. This is the eclipse points. So you'll see that the North Node, it looks like a little horseshoe, is in your 7th house of relationships. You've had some relationship stuff go on, man. Jupiter transited there last year and early this year, and now you've got the eclipses there. But the North Node is a developing place in astrology. It puts a lot of energy there, especially in Mars ruled North Node. Okay. So you can expect lots of relationship things, whether it be friends, romantic, clients, co-workers, all of that takes on significance as the eclipse points move into the 1st and 7th house. So that means the South Node in Libra is in your 1st house of self, identity, independence, authenticity, autonomy. Now, the South Node is what you're letting go of. So this looks like maybe I don't want to be alone anymore, or maybe I don't like my image and I want to change it because I don't like the way I'm being seen. The South Node is a finishing up of this topic here. So the South Node is in Libra, right? And there are going to be changes here, changes to identity, changes to your situation with regards to self and independence. It looks like maybe a new relationship could come into your life. It could be friendship as well. But Venus is the ruler of Libra. So we're also looking at where Venus retrograde is. And not only is Venus ruling the South Node while it's retrograde, it's also sextile, which means opportunity. So there's an opportunity to maybe connect with new people based on a new identity that you're bringing in, or based on new people that you meet, because Venus is also trine the North Node. Trines and sextiles are good, okay? 11th house, 1st house, 7th house. People, goals, doing new things. This is really what this is about for you. But the Venus retrograde questions, is this the goal for me? What is my goal? That's what it wants to know. All right. So then we also have Saturn and Neptune. Now, this may seem like it's not related to the Venus retrograde, but it is. Saturn is in your 6th house of health, daily life, routine, and work. So Saturn's really asking you to put in some work in this area. Luckily, it's in a Jupiter ruled sign. It's not as oppressive as the last 6 years were. Let me put it that way. But Saturn here is encouraging you to get your stuff in your house in order, basically. Get your routine set, get your health routine set. And also make it, it's almost with Pisces, making it a spiritual sort of thing, making sure you're spiritually in alignment every day. Your health is on, on the best, in the best possible place it can be. That's what Saturn wants you to work on. But Mars, man, July 20th, Mars in your 12th house. Mars is in Virgo right now. And Mars is in this area that's escapism. It is spirituality, retreat, reflection, illusion, dreams. And Mars can be like lack direction in this area. So July 20th was Mars opposite Saturn, which can feel like the gas and the brakes, and they're going at the same time. This could be a health situation. It could also be about, like, I need to really get back to work. I don't have much money. So something like that, right? Like, it's kind of heavy, and that's going to happen again with Mercury and again with the sun. So it's important to know about this axis. And how is Saturn in Pisces connected to the Venus retrograde? Well, Venus retrograde, and this is like an overview before I dig into the dates, okay? Because I'm going to dig into some dates. Get your calendars out. Venus retrograde is in Leo. Leo is ruled by the sun. So right now, Venus is looking at the sun in the same sign, and they're all about the same thing: 11th house goals, future, friend groups, large groups of people, networking, right? But the sun will move into Virgo eventually, and I'll tell you when I dig into the dates when that happens, and it'll oppose Saturn. And at that point, Venus is looking to the sun in Virgo for information. Okay. And then when the sun moves into Libra, Venus will be looking to Libra for information while it's in Leo. So it's not just as simple as this 11th house place, but it is mainly the 11th house place. Okay. And then wherever you have Venus natally, look at that. And look at Libra and Taurus. And those two houses are also going to factor in my identity, myself, my 8th house, my empowerment, my shared resources, my contracts, things like that. Okay. So that's an overview. Let's start on the dates. This is where I really dig in. I'm going to do a lot of drawing. It's going to look like football by the time I get done. All right. So pull up my notes. We're here at, it's July 25th when I'm recording this. And today the moon, which by the way will be a heart. The moon's in Scorpio in your 2nd house of finances. And it could feel a little like, I gotta get this area of my life set up right now. The first quarter square of the moon is today, July 25th. I'm not going to go over every first quarter square of the moon, but since I'm recording this on the first quarter square, there's some tension there. And it's between your 11th house of goals and your 2nd house of finances. And maybe you realize, ooh, I need to work on that financial situation a little bit, or I won't be hanging out and networking like I want. Now, July 27th is cool because it's Mercury and Venus come together. Mercury is in Leo, our minds, and Mercury is the question mark, just so you know. And it's conjunct Leo, Venus and Leo on July 27th. So this is when our minds really get the first kind of taste of what this is about. So July 27th, I'm going to try to type these dates as I go through them. Mercury conjunct Venus in Leo. 11th house. So there may be some networking opportunity that you start to come into, or a new friend group that emerges. And this really draws your mind to the theme of Venus retrograde on July 27th. Then July 28th, we got Mercury moving into Virgo. So almost immediately, Mercury moves into your 12th house, which is kind of confusion. It can be a lack of clarity sometimes, but it can also be dreams and inspiration and intuition. It can also be escapism. So some people, just want to check out. They don't want to deal with Saturn over here in the 6th house, right? So beware of that. Just try to get your health routine and your overall routine down pat with Mercury there, because Mercury is going to go retrograde. And Mercury is going to oppose Saturn. Okay. So that's July 28th. So something to note. July 29th, 30th, and 31st, pretty good days. I like these days. I don't know if all astrologers will agree with me, but I like them. This is Grand Fire Trine and Grand Earth Trine. So what we got here on the 29th to start with is the moon in Sagittarius. And that's in your 3rd house of local community and communication and siblings and decision making. And it's going to trine Venus, and it's going to trine the North Node in your 7th house of relationships. So this looks very social, basically, the 29th. Then the 30th, we're going to take the moon away because the moon moves into Capricorn, and it's a completely different grand trine. This grand trine is between Mars and Jupiter. Now, this is some get up and go. All right. So this is the 30th and the 31st. I don't know what I just said. So just look at the dates, the 30th and the 31st. Now, this is perhaps an internal awareness or a spiritual awareness. It is Mars in your 12th house of spirituality and dreams and intuition, trine the moon in your 4th house of home, family, and emotional security, trine Jupiter in your 8th house of empowerment. I hope something clicks for you on the 30th and 31st. The moon won't be there for the 31st, but Mars will still trine Jupiter. So I would really pay attention to the undercurrents in my own psyche around this time. What is it telling me? Now we get to the, I don't want to say lame. Lame seems like a ridiculous thing to call it, but August 1st, full moon in Aquarius. And Mercury opposite Saturn. So this could feel kind of like a lot of pressure August 1st in some way. So we have the full moon here in Aquarius, and it's going to square Jupiter. Okay, this is your full in your 5th house, which is romance, inner child, creativity. So a full moon always illuminates this area. It's fun, it's joy, it's play, and that's what you're going to want to be doing. But square Jupiter in your 8th house, which is shared resources, investments, it's like maybe people ain't going to be bankrolling your fun, if that makes sense. It could also be about a romantic situation because the 5th house is romance. Now I'm going to talk about Mercury opposite Saturn and why it matters with this full moon. Okay, Aquarius, where the full moon is ruled by Saturn. Saturn's in your 6th house of health and daily life and routine. And it's going to be like maybe you're working a lot. Mercury's in your 12th house of escapism and spirituality. Your mind really checked in, your mind's checked out, but maybe you're just doing the work. It can kind of feel, remember, July 20th was Mars opposite Saturn. That's our ego and our action and our warrior, our inner survivalist. Okay, Mercury is our mind, Mercury is commerce, Mercury is thoughts and communication. So to have that opposite Saturn, I would just be aware that like maybe things you say or whatever matter, especially with the full moon square to Jupiter in your 8th house. There could be a kerfluffle. I don't know where I got that word, but okay. So now let's look into, I would just mark August 1st as maybe like a date, not to fearmonger. August 6th, 7th, and 8th is the Sun square Jupiter. We're going to say 8. You can't read that. August 6th through 8th. Okay. So the Sun square Jupiter generally leads to excess. Okay. So if you're out partying and gallivanting, it could just be that you're going overboard. This also could exacerbate anything going on between friend groups or any situation in which you feel disempowered. So just know that. Now, Jupiter is a benefic, and a square to Jupiter is not the worst thing, but it does lead to excess. Like you're doing too much kind of a thing. Okay. And that means in many, many different areas. Here, this could be like you have too many goals or something like that, and you got to whittle it down. Now, August 8th through 10th is Venus square Uranus. I have August 9th over here. Venus square Uranus, this second square to Uranus, Venus is retrograde now, could uproot some things, especially in the 8th house. It could do with relationships. The 8th house is kind of impossible to divorce from relationships. I love that I use the word divorce, because the 8th house is shared resources. It's an implied relationship when you have 8th house stuff going on. So Uranus is changing values in the way I share myself, in my boundaries, in my empowerment. Venus retrograde, a re-evaluation of my goals and friend groups may be based on this Uranus thing. So these dates, especially August 9th, there could be some choppy waters, okay, or more like earthquakes. Now, August 13th, this brings us to the star point, which is a really good thing. Venus star points is when the Sun and Venus come together. August 13th is over here. So, it's at 20 degrees of Leo. If you have anything at 20 degrees of fixed signs, which will be, I like my stamps here. The fixed signs are Taurus, Aquarius, Scorpio, Leo. So if you have anything at 20 degrees of fixed signs, this is going to be squaring that planet or whatever point that is, okay? It's known as an audience with the king, a Venus cazimi. It's when we have an awareness of some sort. We know what's going on here. So it may be good for you, but it's definitely a time in which we become very aware and things happen relating to relationships and money in this 11th house area, which is goals and friend groups. Okay. That is August 13th. Now that brings me to August 15th, which I'm really excited about August 15th through 17th. I love Uranus energy because it's change, it's freedom. And when the trine, which is what we're about to talk about, it's really a good thing. So we've got August 15th through 17th, Mars trine Jupiter. Yay! August 16th, that is the new moon in Leo. Square Uranus. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the moon where it needs to be. New moon in Leo. That's going to be square. Make it orange. Square. Oh, it didn't do anyway. Square Uranus. And then let's make the trine blue because it makes sense. Mars, right here in the orange, is trine Jupiter. Okay, this is a wild dynamic. First of all, new moon in Leo. That is planting seeds in this 11th house area. What is the 11th house? The 11th house is here, networking, friend groups, future goals, all of that. New cycle, but it's square to Uranus. Something's got to change in the 8th house. And maybe it's that the change comes in the 11th house because of new values in the 8th house. There's your 8th house topics: empowerment, contracts, shared resources. I'm going to say it over and over again. Okay, so that is kind of a moment which we know this moon phase is going to change things up, period. At the same time, Mars is trine Jupiter. Now, this is action. It's the ego. It is desire. It's passion. It's Mars is going to get up and do it, but maybe not so much in the 12th house. This seems very spiritual for you because the 12th house is intuition, escapism, dreams, spirituality. It's also sometimes the house of endings. And so is the 8th house. So this trine, which is supportive, may just give you the get up and go that you need to say, enough. We're not doing this anymore. I'm over it. Either way, it's a get a lot of stuff done time. Maybe in the 12th house, that means some relaxation and retreat. It could mean travel as well. August 15th through 17th, Mars trine Jupiter, Jupiter's travel. It could also be a deep insight that you get. All right. Now we're going to go to August 22nd, which is Venus retrograde square Jupiter. Okay, so that's down here. Venus retrograde square Jupiter. That is the second one, okay? And I went over that early in the video. The square to Jupiter can mean excess. It can mean doing too much. And it can just be like an expansion of this Venusian want, this Venusian desire that we have in the 11th house. And it's impossible to ignore, basically. Good things can happen on a Venus square to Jupiter, so don't, take that. It's tension. It's going to move something. Hopefully it's for your benefit and for your good. Now, August 23rd, we got something big. I'm going to erase this here. There's a couple different things. It's a big change. So let me actually type it up here. August 23rd. We have Mercury retrograde and the sun in Virgo. This is what I was talking about when I said Venus retrograde has this 11th house topic until the sun moves into Virgo, and then it becomes something different. So now we've got, I'm going to put a few question marks. Mercury retrograde in your 12th house. Let's review the 12th house again. It's down here. That's the 12th house. Reflection, retreat, spirituality. We're rethinking something. Maybe I need to make room for something in my life. Maybe I need to get more aligned in my spiritual self. And then we've got the sun entering Virgo. So the sun's putting energy into that 12th house as well. So the sun being there informs Venus retrograde. If you've been trying to figure out what your goal is, go into that spiritual part of yourself. Pay attention to your dreams. This is meditate. You know, this is something to get out in nature and figure it out. That's what's going to do best for you. All right, now we've got August 25th, Mars trines Pluto. That's a good, empowering situation in which, you know, you are supported by something in your home and family, and you feel spiritually supported, and you feel like you are really getting yourself together emotionally and spiritually, or at least taking action on it. Okay. The sun opposes Saturn August 27th, and so this is where I'm going to write a few dates. July 20th was Mars opposite Saturn. August 1st was Mercury opposite Saturn. August 27th is the sun opposite Saturn. And then August 30th is the full moon in Pisces with Saturn. Saturn, 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 Saturn. Let's see if I can. I don't know if you can read this, but I'm going to try to move it somewhere where you can. There ain't nowhere. Ain't nowhere to move it. Let's make it longer then. I tried. Maybe if we make it black. We'll see. No, that definitely didn't help, did it? Well, crap. See, I'm talking about opposing Saturn and I'm getting blocked. I'm getting a blockage. Just so you know, those dates flashed up for a minute. So just rewind it if you're watching this video. August 27th is the sun opposite Saturn. That can feel, the reason I wrote the other dates down, August 1st and July 20th, is because those are two other planets opposing Saturn. And you can look at them to kind of see how this is going to go. Okay. So August 27th, the sun opposes Saturn. And then August 30th, we have the full moon in Pisces in your 6th house of health, daily life, routine, and work. It seems like it might just be a lot of work when really what you want is rest and retreat and reflection. Mercury retrograde there. Okay. So I would say August 27th through 30th may feel a little oppressive, you know, demand a lot of work from you. Now, the other thing is, because the full moon is just past the sun's opposition to Saturn, maybe it's a full moon that says, good job. I hope so. It's not approaching Saturn. It's just past Saturn. So you'll have to weigh in on that for me. Now that brings us to something very, very nice. And one of my favorite moments of these videos, September 3rd. Venus goes direct, y'all. And now we can erase Venus retrograde from the graphic here. No more Venus retrograde. That was not good. This is good. So what does that mean? Is there a sudden awareness? Is there a sudden change? It could happen. Yes. I think Venus direct is a time when we kind of pick up the pieces, if there are pieces, or sweep up the room, or we're just like, okay, I just went through that retrograde. What did it mean? Oh, we distill it down. We distill the whole theme of it, the goals, the networking, the friend groups. Venus goes direct. Now, September 4th, Mercury trines Jupiter. Okay. So at the same time, we've got this other really good thing going on. Jupiter is a benefic. Mercury is retrograde. So, I mean, I don't know if that's like totally great, because it will expand the retrograde part of the Mercury retrograde. But I think it's something that's going to teach us. And Mercury is going to square Jupiter several times. In fact, I don't know if I said the first one, which is, did I say square? It's going to trine Jupiter 3 times. So the first one, yeah, it's August 8th, around when Venus squares Uranus. So you can just kind of lump those two dates in together. August 8th, and then this is the second one. So we're talking about September 4th, Mercury trine Jupiter. Now there's something else happening. I think I'm going to leave it. September 4th, Mercury trine Jupiter. I don't know. Do we like it in red? Maybe, see, what's the opposite of green? It's red. I think I got to do red. All right. The other thing that's happening September 6th is Mercury cazimi. That's Mercury and the sun come together, trine Jupiter. And then September 8th is sun trine Jupiter. All right. So we got September 4th, 6th, and 8th. And all of those days are going to be filled with minds connecting to philosophy, connecting to our truth. And this is connecting your 12th house to your 8th house. The 8th house is shared resources, boundaries, contracts, and power. To me, this looks like a time when you can trust. Okay, trust that things are going to work out if there is something going on. It's also a time of deep insight, especially spiritually. All right. So I love that September 4th through 8th time period. Now, September 14th is also really good. Okay. September 14th is the new moon in Virgo, and Mercury goes direct. How about that? I'm very excited. So Mercury direct takes two very important personal planets out of retrograde. Venus is done September 3rd. Mercury is done September 14th, and it's at the same time as a new moon in Virgo. How pretty and cute. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to draw the sun a little later in Virgo because the new moon is at 23 degrees of Virgo. There's the moon, the heart. Got a heart down here. We're done with that one. And then Mercury, instead of all those question marks, I'm just going to make it one question mark because it's going direct. Okay. So we've got the new moon and it's trine Uranus. If you have a wish or a thing you want to change this new moon, the new moon in Leo is also full of change. But this new moon, Mercury is direct and Mercury rules Virgo, where the new moon is. So that's fortunate. It's like, okay, time to move forward. You figured out what you want to change and what you want to do. Let's start this. Let's do this. Okay. Loving it. Loving it. September, what's the next one? Ah, that's right. September 15th through 18th. We got Venus square Jupiter for the third time. This time Venus is direct. Jupiter is retrograde. So I have that date over here. And I'm going to erase this. Same themes come up, but this is the last square and this is the last moment. And I hope this moment gives us a gift, honestly. After Venus has gone retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, maybe it's more internal. Maybe it's a time when we feel like we've understood the lesson, but still a time of excess. So, but it's a deep philosophical transit, I think. All right, then we got September 19th. And this one, I didn't really put much of oppositions to Neptune, but the sun opposite Neptune, you know, might as well, September 19th. That is, it could be a little bit of a spacey day. And then September 21st, yes, the sun trines Pluto. Again, another brief moment, but one that can empower us, again, from the 12th house of spirituality to the 4th house of home, family, and emotional security. And September 23rd, something big happens. The sun moves into Libra. So Venus is still in Leo, right? It's not retrograde anymore, but it's still in Leo. It's taking its cues now from a Libra sun. I'm just erasing this retrograde again because it's not retrograde anymore. It's taking cues from a Libra sun now. So Libra is relationship. Libra is balance. Libra is beauty. It's aesthetics. Libra is creativity. This is in your first house of self. And I think we become acutely aware as Libra risings, what we are, what we put off, how we want to put things out into the world. Venus in the 11th house, putting it out into the world, networking. Sun in the first house, me, myself, how I look, how I present myself, what my self-image is. So that's all very important. Then September 24th, Mercury direct trines Jupiter again. Thing there. So this is Mercury direct trining Jupiter. Again, very good. It's the third time. We're going to gain some insight from that into our boundary issues, shared resources, all of the 8th house stuff, and all the 12th house stuff. But it's a good transit. And then we've got the last square of Venus to Uranus. That is September 29th, 28th, 29th, 30th. I'll give it 3 days on either side, okay? So this square is the last time we encounter this ability to change things. This, I mean, not the last time we encounter, I mean, the stars keep moving, but for this Venus story, it's the last square to Uranus in which shakes it up, changes things. I cannot wait to see what these dates line up with for you. I mean, it's just going to be so easy to track. I love it. All right, so then the last things that we are going to talk about is the full moon in Aries. That is September 29th. I'll type that up here. September 29th, full moon. And enjoy it because the eclipses start after this. This is going to be the first full moon in Aries with the North Node there. Now, it's not conjunct with the North Node. And how do I know that? Because it's not an eclipse. September 29th is not an eclipse. October 14th is an eclipse. October 28th is an eclipse. September 29th is not. It's too far away from the South Node. All right, so what else happens that? No, it's unaspected too. So it's at 6 degrees of Aries in early Aries. And the full moon is highlighting relationships for you. Unaspected, nothing's going on. But at this time, don't forget Mars is in Libra in your first house of self. Mars is also really close to the South Node, which is what you're wanting to redo. To me, this looks like I want to do something that allows me to be around more people, have more people in my life, something with my image. I'm letting go of this in order to invite in more of this. And then October 1st through 3rd, you've got Venus trine the North Node, sextile the South Node, and Mars hits the South Node on October 3rd, okay? So October 1st through 3rd also looks really fortunate. I'm going to say that. Now, Mars at the South Node may not feel fortunate. This is going to make you acutely aware of what the South Node is pointing towards. That you need to let go of or redo or avoid, or it's the tail of the dragon I'm moving away from. I mean, it could be as simple as that's it. I'm not going to listen to Taylor Swift anymore or wear any of her clothes because all of my friends are juggalos now. That sounds ridiculous, right? But that is a scenario that I could totally see. Venus shining its benefic light into your 11th house of networking goals, connecting to Mars in the South Node, like, nah, I ain't doing that anymore. I'm doing the North Node in the 7th house, Aries, relationships, cooperation, making friends, getting to know new people, that kind of a thing. And then, and then October 7th is a big day. Venus is at the anaretic degree of Leo. It leaves its shadow. And then Mars is square Pluto. So Mars square Pluto is it's a moment where we decide we need to empower ourselves, right? Pluto's in our 4th house of home and family and emotional security. If you're secure there, then the Mars part of that will be my identity, myself, and what I need to do to empower myself. And if you'll notice, it's also square the nodes. And that hangs around for a while, okay? But this last day, October 7th, does seem big for a reverberation of what Venus retrograde was about. Because Pluto's squaring a Libra Mars, Venus is at the anaretic degree of Leo, and anaretic means that it's the degree of crisis. That doesn't mean there will be a crisis, but crisis just means something needs to happen, right? So that is October 7th. October 9th, Venus moves into Virgo, into your 12th house, pretty much immediately opposes Saturn. That may not be that fun. But once we pass that, we get the eclipses. Oh, it's going to be a winter. I'll tell you what. It's definitely going to be a crazy end of summer. So the eclipses are going to be in your 1st and 7th house, myself, other people. Here we go. Venus is going to enter your 12th house of escapism, spirituality, and dreams, and oppose Saturn in your 6th house of work, health, and routine. And pets. Who knows what's happening? All right, guys. I'm going to come back. My eyebrows look crazy. I've been pulling at them. Oh, of course, I'd say that to the Libra risings. I will be back for October through December. The eclipses are October 14th and October 28th. I think I have that date right. I hope it's not the 29th, and I've been saying the 28th. We'll see. No, it's the 28th. But I'm going to go all the way through December when I do this second video. That being said, go to ecstaticastrology.com if you'd like to book a session with me. Also, like, share, and subscribe or comment. And if you have any questions, and thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I wish you the best during this Venus retrograde, and find a group that works for you and goals that really feed that heart space. All right. Catch you on the flip side.